Hey there. So, we are wrapping up our macro boot camp. And as we do that, I recognize that some of you are incredibly nervous. You feel like that maybe once this boot camp is over, you're going to just be tossed out of that nest on your own and really not quite sure you're able to fly just yet. I really want to encourage you that we are still here for you. We are not going anywhere. We have several different options for you to get onto an accountability plan and continue working with us and your nutrition as you continue on in your journey. And that is definitely something that we are excited to talk to you about, give you some of those options because we really want you to feel equipped and prepared to face this new lifestyle that you've decided to continue living. I believe that Meg is making a video about all of that. And so make sure that you watch that video, get some more details, really feel like you are prepared and ready to continue on. Because while all of you have done amazing, I still think that most people have a little bit more that they're either wanting to gain or wanting to lose or whatever it is that your goals looked like. And we are not done, okay? We are here to help you and encourage you. But I also wanted to talk to you about what do you do when you do plateau? How do you adjust your macros? How do you know when you're supposed to adjust your macros? What do you do around the holidays? We have Thanksgiving and Christmas and birthday parties, weddings, vacations. Those are all part of life, right? Like we are always going to have those events. And what do? And what happens when the wheels do fall off the bus? Like, how do we put the wheels back on the bus? So, I wanted to just give you guys a few pointers. Again, this is a lot of information. It can totally be overwhelming. And if it's something that you're not wanting to do, just reach out to one of us. We are definitely happy to help you and help you calculate your macros for future success. Okay, so you do not have to do this on your own, but I do think it's very important knowledge for you to have, and a couple of also important things that I need to address with you about it. So, you have hit a plateau, you're not losing any weight. And you are like, okay, I have to do one of two things. I either A, need to not eat anything because if I'm not losing weight, then I have to now go into starvation mode and I'm no longer eating. Or B, I need to go join Orange Theory and do all the cardio because I don't have enough cardio in my life. So I need to do that. Or maybe like this macro lifestyle doesn't work. I'm going to start to do fad diets. I'm going to go super high fat, zero carbs, or I'm going to eat all the carbs and not eat anything else. Like, I don't know, but we've all been there, right? Like we get into that flight and fight mode where we feel like, oh, well, we've plateaued. So now I have to take matters into my own hands and do all the things that have never worked for me before, but I've plateaued. So I don't know what else to do. Go back and watch the video about stress that I made a few weeks ago if that sounds familiar, okay? But that's not what we do when we plateau. And also another thing that we don't do is we don't adjust our macro numbers every single week. In fact, very few of you are going to see adjustments this week because you're losing weight. And that's the great thing about a macro lifestyle is the whole point of it. We want to be having a steady weight loss while consuming as much food as possible. So if you are eating all of the food and you're still losing weight, there's no adjustment to be made. Another thing to look at is if you have plateaued, the very first thing you need to do is you need to go back to your sheets and you need to look at your numbers and you need to be honest with yourself and you need to say, am I consistently hitting my numbers? And consistently means consistently. That does not mean 3 of the 7 days of the week, I'm hitting my numbers. No, consistency is you are hitting your numbers at least 6 days of the week. Okay, that is consistency. Can you lose weight if you only hit your numbers 5 days a week? Totally. And if you're willing to have your weight loss achieved at a much slower rate, that's okay. It just depends on where you are, right? Like how far you have to go or whatever. But if you look at your weight, if you look at your sheet and you're not consistently hitting your target numbers, and that means consuming all of them and also not consuming too much of them. So if you are hitting those numbers within that 5% variance of the goal that I've given you, if you're hitting those numbers, then there might be a macro change coming up. But if you're not hitting those numbers, well, then you just solve your problem. Hit your numbers consistently. And then in a couple more weeks, check back and see if there's been any difference. Also, we don't adjust numbers based off of 1 week. And I know that I have adjusted numbers for some of you based off of 1 week, but that's because we were trying to determine your basal metabolic rate. And so there's some factors in there. But moving forward, you need to be at a stall for at least 4 to 6 weeks before you go adjusting your numbers, okay? So that does not mean that you don't lose any weight 1 week, so you're going to adjust your numbers. No. Stay the course, okay? So you need to have been at a plateau for 4 to 6 weeks. You need to have been hitting your numbers consistently at least 6 days of the week before you adjust your target numbers, okay? Also, if the weight has stalled on the scale, but you are still losing inches because I had you measure, right? You're not adjusting your numbers because you are having a loss. It just might not be reflected on the scale. Okay? So to change your numbers, you have to consistently be hitting your target numbers. You have to have been plateaued for at least 4, if not 6 weeks. Your body measurements both have to be stalled along with your weight loss. You also have needed to have allowed enough time to wait out that whoosh. And that's what I'm talking about, the 4 to 6 weeks, right? I put up a little image that talked about how when our fat cells are a circle, imagine that. I mean, and then when we lose some fat, some of that fat goes away, but it instantly fills back up with water. And we hold that water until our body's like, oh, okay, never mind. I don't need this fat cell anymore. Shrink. So that's the whoosh that we're talking about. So sometimes it takes a little bit for us to see it. So be consistent, be faithful to it, and just wait out that whoosh. You also need to have looked at your sleep. You need to look at your stress. You need to look at your active recovery and the amount of workouts that you've been doing. All of those things before you adjust your macros. If you're stressed, we already talked about, you're probably not going to be in a successful season of weight loss. There's no point in ingesting your calories down to where you feel like you're starving because that's just going to stress you out even more. If you're not sleeping, that throws off our whole body, okay? If you're working out too much, it's going to be hard to see weight loss because our body is going to stay inflamed all the time. So take a couple recovery days and see if that helps, okay? Address those small issues before we go changing our numbers. Because if you keep cutting every time you don't see weight loss, what happens when you get down to like 700 calories, okay? Like there has to be a stopping point and there has to be a measuring stick. And this is our measuring stick, okay? If you've looked at all of those things and you're like, okay, no, I'm hitting it consistently. I've been on a plateau for 6 weeks. My body measurements and the scale have both stalled. I've waited out the whoosh. I'm not really stressed. My sleep is great. I'm working out the same that I've been working out. Maybe you should adjust your ratios at this point, okay? So I have most of you on a 35, 30, 35 split. So 35% of your calories goes to protein, 30% goes to carbs, and 35% goes to fat. That's most of your ratios, give or take a few percent here and there. Try adjusting those ratios a little bit. Adjust your carbs and your fat. Maybe swap them. Just play around with that a little bit and see if that can help. I really don't want your fat to get super, super low. It's very important for you to have enough fat, especially if you're female, in your body for hormone function, okay? So before you get your fat super low, like nobody really should probably have their fat like below 30. Like then that's already a super low fat. So like below 30 grams in your diet, okay? So if you figure your macros and that's what it sees, please come talk to me before you make that adjustment, because that might not be a healthy ratio for you. Okay. But play around with that and see. Maybe that's all that you need to do. Like swap it up. Like go on maybe a little lower carb for a week or two. Give your body a chance to like kick start back in and really just be diligent about hitting those numbers. Okay. But don't adjust your actual calorie intake. If you do that and you still don't see a weight loss, then maybe it is time to adjust your macros. And the way that you do that is you're going to do a 5% to 10% reduction of your total calories. So let's say that you are eating right now your calories are set at 2,000 calories, and we're going to do a 5% reduction, okay? So that would be 100 calories. Not very much, right? But that's okay. Like that could possibly be enough, and I would definitely start on that lower end. I mean, that's just a snack. So you're barely even going to notice that, but it could be what makes the difference. That's also important to think about. So if 100 calories every day is going to help you start going back down into that deficit again, the same is true when we eat over 100 calories. So if you ate a couple nuts here and there and you didn't track it, and if you licked the icing off of the cupcake, but you didn't take an actual bite, so you didn't log it, you're very easily not logging and tracking accurately when that happens, okay? And so this 100 calories can help us lose weight. It can also help us gain weight, especially when we're trying to walk so close to the line of being able to consume as much food as possible and still lose weight, okay? But definitely just start with a 5% to a 10% reduction. The one thing that I probably don't ever really want you to take grams away from is going to be your protein, because all of us are working out, we're lifting weights. We don't really want to see a big drop in our muscles. So we need to give our body that protein. And plus, like I talked about earlier, protein is our most important macronutrient. It does so much for us. It helps us stay fuller longer, keeps our digestive system going. So you're going to do those 5 to 10. You're going to take those 100 calories from that 5%. You're going to take them away from your carbs and your fat. Okay. So that's where you're going to adjust your macros at. But again, you need to go down that checklist and you need to really be honest with yourself. I have a really good pie chart picture that I found that I'm going to try and show you on the video, but I'm also going to post it into the group so that way you are able to see it. Let me see. Sorry, I should have done this earlier. It's a little pie chart. I don't know if you can see it, not very well, so I'll post it into the group, but I'll read it to you. It says, like a very small sliver up here, it says, you need to decrease calories. Like, that's the smallest part of the pie, okay? Because it really is going to be the very last thing you do. The largest section of the pie said estimating portions instead of measuring. So you've hit a plateau and your macros just aren't working anymore. Well, it's probably because you're estimating your portions and you're not logging. You're not tracking those nibbles, little tastes, the cooking oils, butter on your biscuit, things like that. Not tracking meals or days entirely. So you're just forgetting to log things. You're getting too flexible eating foods that are really too hard to track. Some things, we just need to avoid some things that are hard to track, like those homemade treats at parties and stuff. Like, you really have no idea how to track those. You have no idea how much fat or cheese they put on them. So if you've hit a plateau, might be because you've been doing some of this other stuff. And that's okay, because like I said earlier, life is going to happen. Things are going to come up. There's always going to be Christmas. There's always going to be Thanksgiving. There will be birthday parties and weddings. Like, those are all part of life. But if we have several of those events back to back and we're not seeing a weight loss, well, we can't adjust our macros. It's because even if you're logging and you are truly trying to log as accurately as you can, you're still guessing. And life has just been, you've been out able to not be in control of your nutrition like what you normally are when you're planning and prepping and you're at home and there's no unexpected activities or events. So if you have those things that you're attending, that does not mean you need to adjust your macros. In fact, that might mean that you just need to be intuitive and you need to eat intuitively. So when we have busy seasons in our life, track your macros as honest and accurately as you can, especially the meals that you know you're going to be in control of. If every day you're going to be at home for breakfast, your breakfast needs to be on point, okay? And if every day you're going to be home for dinner, your dinner needs to be on point. So your breakfast and your dinner are taken care of, but you have a week's worth of business lunches that you have to attend. Try to make your best choices and eat intuitively. Eat what you want so that way you don't always feel like you're deprived, but do it in a way that still honors your macros, okay? And be okay that in that busy season of your life, the scale might still go down, but it might be creeping down very, very slowly, okay? On Thanksgiving and on Christmas, guess what I want you guys to do? I want you to eat the food, okay? Eat what you want. Like, the wheels don't have to completely fall off the bus, but like those days happen 2 times a year. So as long as you don't go to 12 Christmases and eat what you want 12 times, I'm relatively sure that if you pick 1 or 2 of those events, family or friends gatherings that you want to attend and you want to eat whatever you want to eat whatever you want to eat. If you get invited to 4 weddings for the whole entire year and you want to eat cake, eat the cake. It's 4 weddings. 4 wedding cakes is not going to derail you from your weight loss goal. It is also not a reason to adjust your macros the next week when the scale goes up. You need to remind yourself, oh yeah, I had cake. Or you know what? I ate whatever I wanted on Christmas. So I saw a 4-pound weight gain. But I did that for a day and then I'm right back at it. The wheels did not completely fall off the bus. This was a planned day because it's Christmas, okay? Like, just like we can't be surprised in December that we are buying Christmas gifts, we also can't be surprised every December that we want to eat the Christmas cookies, okay? Plan for it. Try to be as accurate and honest as you can of the days and weeks leading up to that, so that way you don't feel like you have the food guilt, because that's not something I want you to feel guilty about. Eat Santa's cookies, okay? Like, your kids have made those, and do whatever it is that brings you joy during those times, okay? And try and do it in a way that you don't feel guilty from when it's done. And then don't try to tell yourself that you have completely sabotaged all of the progress that you've made, because you haven't. One day is not going to sabotage your goals. If you continue to wake up every single day and every day is Christmas morning and you eat whatever you want, then obviously that's a different situation. But if you allow yourself to have one day of indulgence every now and then, I can assure you is actually going to do a really good thing for your psychological state, okay? To know that if I am, 90% of the time, if I'm pretty strict and adhering to my plan, 10% of the time, I can still really enjoy those things that I've looked forward to, okay? So I don't want you to make any irrational decisions when you don't see the scale trending down like you should. I really want you to stop. I want you to think about it. Like, have I been consistent? Have I waited out the whoosh? Have I logged all of my stuff honestly and accurately? Has there been a big event in my life that I was unable to control the food that was served to me? Is it Christmas or is it Thanksgiving? Like, we're not going to go gain 12 pounds, but on those 1 or 2 days, then yeah, like, go ahead and eat what you want, but don't adjust your calories the next week based upon those couple of days. So again, when it's time to adjust macros, because you will hit a plateau and they will need to come down, you're only going to adjust them about 5 to 10%. So you're looking at anywhere between 100 and 250 calorie reduction. So super, super small reductions that you shouldn't really even feel as far as like feeling like you're starving or whatever. But we want to stay eating as many calories as we can for as long as we can, as long as we are losing weight, because this is a lifestyle. This is not a diet. Whenever you're ready to switch over into maintenance, I can definitely help you with that as well. If you decide you want to bulk and you want to build some muscle, that's exciting. You get to eat all the carbs and your protein's going to get increased. And some of you are pretty close to that. And so I'm excited to help you with that. So those are things that we are still here to help you do. There will be future challenges. There will be future teaching on macros. So make sure to stay connected with us in the Facebook group and the GroupMe group. You have our numbers. We are here for you. We are your biggest supporters. We are so excited to tally up all of these numbers and see how much weight has been lost over the last 6 weeks, because y'all have crushed it. And I am so excited to reveal those numbers to you. Let me know if there's anything that I can do to help you, and just stay positive. Stay encouraging each other. We've built such a great community, and I know that through it, you will be able to crush your goals. I'm so proud of you. And I've truly enjoyed these last 6 weeks with you. I hope that you guys have a great week. This week is not over. The challenge is not done yet. So remember to keep logging your food, honestly, accurately, posting those pictures into the group, sharing any tips and tricks that you have, and try to help score your team a victory.